Our gospel reading continues in the Gospel of Luke. Now at chapter 21, Jesus begins to talk about the end times, talk about what the future is bringing. I invite you to follow along in your own Bibles, or you can read what's on the screen with me. Follow along there. Just then, Jesus looked up and saw the rich people dropping offerings in the collection plate. And then he saw a poor widow put in 2 pennies. He said, "The plain truth is that this widow has given by far the largest offering today. All these others made offerings that they'll never miss. She gave extravagantly what she couldn't afford. She gave her all." One day, people were standing around talking about the temple, remarking how beautiful it was, the splendor of its stonework and memorial gifts. Jesus said, "All this you're admiring so much? The time is coming when every stone in that building will end up in a heap of rubble." And they asked him, "Teacher, when is this going to happen? What clue will we get that it's about to take place?" And Jesus said, "Watch out for the doomsday deceivers. Many leaders are going to show up with forged identities claiming, 'I'm the one,' or 'the end is near.' Don't fall for any of that. When you hear of wars and uprisings, keep your head. Don't panic. This is routine history and no sign of the end." And Jesus went on, "Nation will fight nation and ruler fight ruler over and over. Huge earthquakes will occur in various places, and there will be famines. You'll think at times that the very sky is falling. But before any of this happens, they'll arrest you. They'll hunt you down. They'll drag you to court and jail. It will go from bad to worse, dog eat dog. Everyone at your throat because you carry my name. You'll end up on the witness stand, called to testify. Make up your mind right now not to worry about it. I'll give you the words and wisdom that will reduce all your accusers to stammerers and stutterers. You'll even be turned in by your parents or your brothers, your relatives and friends. Some of you will be killed. There's no telling who will hate you because of me. Even so, every detail of your body and soul, even the hairs on your head, is in my care. Nothing of you will be lost. Staying with it, that's what is required. Stay with it to the end. You won't be sorry. You'll be saved." And with those joyous words, Jesus brings the truth of Jesus' ministry to the hearts of his faithful as they go forward into the day. That's a rather sobering passage right there, isn't it? That's a passage that says to some people, "I'm not sure I want to be a part of this. Wait a second. How will we know? What's the signal, Jesus?" And Jesus says a lot of history is going to look the same. Wars, we've had those. Traumas, traumatic things, those happen. But stay with me. Stick with it. Keep responding to the joy of the gospel. Keep living out the call to a faithful life in Jesus Christ. You won't be sorry. You'll experience the blessings of a life in grace. John and Virginia Vespers had a daughter named Joan. I had a chance to meet Joan. I met Joan on the 5th floor of the University Hospital in the Twin Cities. Joan, that's the children's cancer unit. Sacred place. When you walk into those units, the love and concern and kindness and gentleness and enthusiasm and hope that you see in the doctors and the nurses and all the medical professionals fill those rooms. Joan was awful scared. They had found cancer in her. And so she was spending a lot of time in the last 2 years in that ward. And even in the midst of her fear, there was abandonment to joy. The first time I met her, she was running down the hallway chasing a therapy dog with a nurse behind her. Joan, be careful, Joan. Be careful, Joan, be careful. She was lost in the joy of it all. She was chasing that dog over and she could get a hold of that tail. Just wanted to pet that puppy. She caught it. And I said, be careful. And she stood up and she said, I have cancer. Wow. I don't know what to say. Not good for you. I don't know. You just go, wow. I saw her over the weeks. She wasn't the young person I had intended to see. We had a young youth person in our congregation at the time who they found a spot of cancer in his knee and he had to have an operation. Things went very well. Things went well. They did the operation. He did the therapy. And today I connect with him every Christmas with a Christmas card. He sends one, and I send pictures of his kids. The last time I saw Joan's parents, they were packing up her room, taking her things that they had brought. And I came in and I sat down in their room and I said, any resource I can be, please. Do you have a church home? They said, no. I said, boy, I'd encourage you to look, That might be a resource for you. Till then, please give me a call. I handed them my card. Joan's mom said, I think we're going to begin that journey. I think we're going to start looking. So that's great. He said when he talked to Joan about who Jesus was, and he said that his very spirit filled this room, I said, yeah, I'd like to give encouragement as best I can. She said, we were with her as she went to God. I said, well, that's a blessing, although you may not think so or feel so right now. She said, oh, no. You mentioned that Jesus is right there, right within grasp. Right before she left us, her eyes opened, she sat up, and she put her hand out. And she smiled, that smile she had with the dog, and she just relaxed and went to God. I just had to kind of gather myself. They'd already had half a day to digest that moment, and so while tears came to their eyes, it was something that would begin their journey of faith in a whole new way. It wasn't, oh, we never believed in God, and now we do because of this. No, something had taken that moment, even in the midst of that trial and that chaos and that loss and fright. Jesus was present, and God brought them into deeper relationship. That word that Jesus shares with his disciples, look what she gave of herself. She abandoned herself to the possibility. She brought all that she was and all that she is and have, and she came up and she put it in there, and just like clink, clink, clink. Out of the abundance that you and I would not think she had, that widow, that vulnerable, that one with no place in community. If you're a widow in Jesus' name, you are vulnerable. You have no place. You got nothing. But as a person of nothing, she can give herself abandonedly to God. Too often, we miser what we have and we give God, the spare change, the extra time we have. No, if you look in Scripture, it talks about first fruits off the top. The very first thing is to hand over our lives and ourselves. It's very intentional that's been changed since I came here about the offering. It was great how it was, but for me, the offering of our lives and ourselves is something we fully do each day. when our feet hit the floor. This day is yours, Jesus. I surrender it to you. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really good about grabbing it back through the day. It's yours, Jesus, but except for now. I need it. It's yours, Jesus, but that's pretty scary, so maybe no. This tells us, hey, I am with you to the close of the age. Didn't you hear it in those wonderful stories in the Old Testament? In Thessalonians there? God saying, I fully give you myself. All that I am and all that I have, which for God is saying a lot, is abundantly yours. Come into this presence. What a beautiful witness this is. If you can't see it from the back, don't walk out of here without taking a look up the aisle, because there's a whole table full back there too. What a tangible way to say, this is some of what I have. Take it, God, and feed others who don't have the resource I have. May I share mine with theirs. May we couple and blend and weave our resources together that we can be an even greater presence of grace in this community. And what's to come? Well, here's the good news. Whatever comes, I'll overcome it. Whatever happens, I won't be thwarted. Yeah, the worst things you can imagine might very well happen. Just ask Joan's parents. That was not their prayer the day they brought her to the cancer ward. How that story finished in that room was not what they were hoping for. But they came to realize the unlimited grace and power and presence of a loving and present God. So go this day. Go this day into the world reminded of the power and the presence of a living and gracious God. Fully expanding and giving God's self to you in this moment that you might become what God's designed you and gifted you to be. It's the journey. It's that this day is added on to yesterday and is the prep for tomorrow as we who are a pilgrim people. We always remember we're sojourning folk. We ain't home. We're on our way. What a gift and grace that we go together. Amen.